Rations and commodities. Mass genocide through generational, limited, and processed food access. Abstract. Father Sky. Before colonization, Native American communities relied on nature and the surrounding environment to provide sustenance for survival. As indicated in the previous article, The Origin Story, Manifest Destiny's creation of economic deserts and the devastation of the subsistence economy, Native American communities have been relocated or given meager portions of their traditional homelands. This relocation resulted in the inability to harvest adequate foods from the land for survival. For several generations, and in hundreds of communities, rationing and commodity food programs combined to increase physiological impacts of poor quality foods, thus increasing health disparities among Native Americans. Similarly, these foods have influenced the behavioral economic patterns that keep Native Americans in a negative cycle of physical illness and disease, as well as financial insecurity from medical costs. These financial behaviors, conscious or unconscious, affect individual financial well-being and are a consideration when developing responsive financial education. Prayer, Song, and Introduction. East, Sweetgrass, Beginning. Gija Weniminen Ge Ichi Ben Jigid Gija Ako De Du Yang Ga Kana Gego Gija Weminen Gizis Asia Mashka Wiziyang Gija Weminen Dibik Gizis Kikino Amin Weyang Zarga Sidion Gija Weminen Mashkigi Asia Didibiziyang Wenji Bimazidiyang Api Jawen Mi Yang Jawen Niman Digab Api Zai Giyang Zage Ang Gadawa Api Nu Gimo Eyang Nu Gimo Anadudawa Api Enawen Namino Young Enawen Nindayang Nadawama Wishim Dam Daga Nungum Naga Mato Wishinandam Daga Nungum Nada Ishanam Daga Nugum Nana Ishamam Daga Getche Dibenchi Ged. We are blessed by you, Lord, you who connect all being. We are blessed by you, Sun. You give us light and strength. We are blessed by you, Moon. You teach us the importance of reflection. We are blessed by you, land and water. Your circulation supports our living. We are blessed. We bless others. As we are loved, we love others. As we are healed, we heal others. As we are related to you, we are related to one another. Help us all now. Sing to us all now. Repair us all now. Bring peace to all our souls, O Lord. Up busy one or she awa in lagoon. Busy one is game tiagang in it and nabu minawakaman. Zia pagawan mino pagawan. Siwa gamane and game when amen. Gichimanadu, Creator, thank you for the bounty that flourishes and nourishes our people. Please guide us in a healthy way on our journey on the sacred planet Mother Earth. Thank you, Mother Earth, Shkakamikwe, for providing us in every way, for our very existence would not be without you. We are grateful for each day, the blessings given. Chimigwech, many thanks. This is one piece of a 7-part series unpacking the complexities surrounding financial education, including financial well-being for Native American communities, utilizing interviews from prominent Native American individuals across the financial education sector and accessible literature. Together, these 7 pieces create a snapshot of this landscape. The National Endowment for Financial Education's personal finance ecosystem identifies the factors that influence financial well-being, which includes the core concept, financial actions and outcomes cycle. This cycle is a feedback loop comprised of the individual's mindset and available choices, followed by the decisions made and actions taken by the individual, as well as the resulting outcomes and the impacts of any external shocks, for example, unexpected events. This article unpacks how a diet of commodity foods and historical rations influence financial behaviors, which lead to a cycle of negative medical issues and poor quality food choices. History: South, Cedar, Growth. Native American communities survived and thrived on cultivating the land for nourishment. Before colonization, North America, our ancestors were healthy and strong, shares Nico Albert in Food, Culture, and Storytelling. Native American diets were designed for people of their respective regions. Subsistence living contributes to overall well-being through physical activity, a healthy diet, and psychological well-being. Native American harvesting practices also provide ecological stewardship of the land through sustainable and regenerative hunting and gathering. This knowledge is tied to the specific ancestral territories of each individual tribe, band, or clan. It's our responsibility to do the best we can to give back to the living beings that are all around us, states Hope Flanagan, Seneca, in the article Elder Voices, Wisdom About Indigenous Peoples' Food Systems from the Holders of Knowledge. For example, you don't ever take a plant without putting down an offering first. Mother Earth is a living being that has gifted us food, water, breaths, everything. The origin story, Manifest Destiny's creation of economic deserts and the devastation of the subsistence economy, shared the history of relocation of Native American communities to smaller portions of traditional lands or to new lands, sometimes hundreds of miles away. This forced removal limited the space for traditional practices of hunting and gathering, or placed communities into foreign territories to cultivate the new land that they were inhabiting with lack of traditional knowledge of that land. Between 1778 and 1871, tribes had engaged in over 400 treaties with the U.S. government, often determining hunting, fishing, and farming rights of tribal members, many of which stated the U.S. government promise to secure adequate articles of subsistence. This was the beginning of government interaction with food systems of Native American communities. As articulated in the report Feeding Ourselves, the rations were often processed foods of lower nutritional value, unlike the historical diet of the people indigenous to the United States. Moreover, rations were commonly rancid or rotten upon delivery. In addition to forced removals from traditional homelands, traditional food sources and food systems were destroyed by colonizing entities. In 1870, the demand for American buffalo hides for industrial machines on the East Coast had driven the American buffalo to near extinction by 1900. In over a decade, the number of bison collapsed from 12 to 15 million to fewer than 1,000, representing one of the most dramatic examples of our ability to destroy the natural world, states the American Buffalo film by Ken Burns. The rapid disappearance of game from the former hunting grounds must operate largely in favor of our efforts to confine the Indians to smaller areas and compel them to abandon their nomadic customs and establish themselves in prominent homes, states Columbus Delano in the annual report of the Secretary of the Interior for the year 1872. So as long as the game existed in abundance where there was little deposition manifested to abandon the chase, even though government bounty was dispensed in great abundance, affording them ample means of support, when the game shall have disappeared, we shall be well forward in the work in hand. Because of the interruptions to traditional food procurement processes and food insecurities within the new locations from the forced removals, many Native communities became dependent upon food rations from the U.S. government. To address the continued food insecurities for Native Americans on reservations, government-issued food commodities were introduced in 1977 through the United States Department of Agriculture's USDA Food Distribution Program on Indian Reservations, FDPIR, administered by the Food and Nutrition Service, FNS. This program currently serves an average of 82,600 participants monthly. Today, food insecurity remains a large issue for Native American communities nationwide, estimates ranging from 16% to 80%, where the baseline for the average American is 10.5%. Food insecurity is a household-level economic and social condition of limited or uncertain access to adequate food, determined by the USDA. Food insecurity is directly linked to obesity and heart disease, resulting in higher utilization of health care. According to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Office of Minority Health, American Indian and Alaska Native adolescents are 30% more likely, and adults are 50% more likely to be obese than non-Hispanic white individuals. Native Americans with cardiovascular disease pass away before age 65 at a rate of 36%, compared to 31.5% of Black individuals and 14.7% of non-Hispanic white individuals. Related, there is currently a medical debt crisis for Native American communities. The Indian Health Service, IHS, has declined to pay medical bills for more than 500,000 patients, resulting in more than $2 billion in medical debt. In addition, according to the 2021 American Community Survey one-year estimates, Native Americans are the least likely to have health insurance, 21.2% for Native American Indians, 19% Hispanic, 10.9% Black, 7.2% white. Access to affordable, healthy, nutritious food options are limited in low income communities, and purchasing power is influenced by whole communities, not just the individual. As many native nations reside on remote locations and food deserts, the available foods are limited to those that hold longer shelf life or those that are available at convenience stores and gas stations due to the distance of full grocery store access. However, access is not the only solution to a problem created through decades of systemically imposed restrictions on indigenous diets. Food choice is influenced by many factors from biochemical and physiological to psychological and social. Many of these are through cultural experiences in childhood that are internalized at a subconscious level. While financial education alone may not address this multi layered, multi systemic issue that is contributing to health and financial disparities for Native Americans, there's a correlation between financial knowledge and weathering hardships from food insecurities. Moreover, trauma informed financial education has been shown to address several nuances of finances, including social, behavioral, and emotional issues associated with food insecurities. Discussion: West, tobacco, maintenance. Native American communities survived from the land for centuries, and many families had ancestors that lived to be centenarians. My grandmother used to talk about how people 2, 3 generations before her would live to be like 100 or 110 years old. We've got pictures of her great grandfather, this guy named Peter, who is out treaty fishing in the 1900s. He was 95, 105 years old, something like that. He seemed like a pretty robust dude, shares Professor Matthew Fletcher, Anishinaabe, Harry Burns Hutchins, collegiate professor of law and professor of American culture at the University of Michigan. We asked my grandmother about that. She said, people just ate what they found in the earth. They grew their own food. They didn't go out to eat much. They didn't have any money to do that. So you ended up eating a lot of weird things like skunks and possums, really gamey stuff. It was gross, but it was really healthy. And so people lived a lot longer, if they made it that far. And that was my grandmother's explanation for it. Through the process of colonization, Native American communities were located off traditional homelands and exchanged land for promises of government through treaties. Food commodities are there because it was a part of the contractual agreements that we made with the government that they would and we would give them our land, shares Paul McHorse, Taos Pueblo, owner and senior planner of First Nations Eagle. So contractually, it's something that we must continue to have access to, and it's something that our ancestors advocated for so that we would have sustenance to survive because our old meat sources were no longer available to us. When we look at the 3 main consorts that the federal government says of taking our land, we will provide education, we will provide food, we will provide housing. Every single one of those measures from the time colonization began has been inadequate, and in my mind has been put forth as a measure to hurt our communities. If it was provided to any other community other than a marginalized community, so take out a racial standpoint, privileged and white individuals would never stand for this, nor would the federal government even dream about providing such unhealthy food in such low measures. So this really is a measure of prejudice, ineptness, and lack of treaty trust responsibilities of the federal government, states Crystal Cornelius, Ojibwe Oneida, CEO of Owista Corporation. I think it's still a part of that structural violence that happens, that they're not meant to nourish our bodies. They're not meant to help us in any way, right? They're intentionally and have been intentionally used as violence, as an act of violence against Indian bodies, states Dr. Vanessa Escovedo. Nor rel muck wintu, hupa wakana. So they know that they're in a place where we will accept these things because it's free food and we have food scarcity. And I think that behaviorally, we know that a lot of our ancestors, when they first got to the reservations, they had to live off these. I think it was a big disruptor to our communities. When I learn about commodity food and the forced use of it in our communities, adds Jamie Glosche, Dene Apache Kiowa, co-founder of Native Women Lead, I think about people being put onto landlocked reservation systems. I think about people being corralled and controlled and forced to adopt a diet that wasn't our own. And now I see the huge health inequities that exist and the health issues that exist in our communities as it relates to like heart disease or diabetes or any high blood pressure, stroke, and even our bodies adapting to Western foods. I think it's had a really negative influence. So I know commodities are very influential in creating fry bread, which is like our staple now. But health wise, it's not healthy. So, yeah, it has really changed, I think, our culture and our quality of food, and even its disconnect to a lot of our connection to our ancestral foods and medicines and land, states Jamie Glosche, Dene Apache Kiowa. Crystal Cornelius Ojibwe Oneida shared the inception of fry bread. It was created out of necessity for survival. The ingredients would arrive spoiled, the lard would be rancid, and the flour filled with bugs and weevils. Native American ancestors learned that boiling the lard would turn it from rancid, and the process of frying would kill the bacteria. They would leave in the bugs because it was a source of protein. Fry bread is one of the most known Native American dishes across the nation. Don LeBeau, Lakota, reflects on growing up with commodity foods and knowing as an adult that the foods are not nourishing. But what I see in my community and within my family is a lot of folks purchasing like the very high processed foods, and there needs to be more education around what our food system actually looked like growing up, why we harvested certain types of veggies and grew our own foods and processed our own beef. It really is like the biggest conversation right now because our communities are suffering from different health factors that we would potentially eliminate or decrease based on the type of foods that we let into our bodies. She goes on to emphasize the importance of consumer education and balancing the cost of higher priced foods in the present versus the cost of poor health in the future. Where processed foods might be more appealing, education on the health trade off can empower community members to make the best decisions. But if we have governments that understand it and actually put people in place who have compassion and love and are savvy and educated, then they can help uplift people and their citizens because that's really their job, imparts Paul McHorse, Taos Pueblo. And they can uplift them to a point where commodities are a thing of the past. And looking into the future is having elk, having buffalo, having deer, having good meats that are free range, that our bodies are built for. Our bodies aren't built for commodities and high processed foods. They're built for fast and famine. We're built for ceremony. We're built for seeing life as as a way to see the beauty that was created for us and to live in harmony with that beauty. Wisdom, North, Sage, Conclusion. In conclusion, Native American communities have been forced to disconnect culturally based foods and harvesting practices through ancestral land displacement and supplemented for survival on heavy processed government rations and commodity foods, leading to health disparities and cultural normalization of non-traditional foods. Trauma-informed, holistic financial education can be integrated into Native communities, reclaiming autonomy and sovereignty in traditional and accessible food systems. Disclaimer: Mother Earth. There are 574 federally recognized tribes and hundreds of unrecognized tribes in the United States, each with a unique colonization story that has influenced their community members and descendants' interaction with the mainstream financial system. These articles are intended to explain a generalized Native experience and support a journey of positive change in relation to Native American, Hawaiian Native, and Alaska Native communities. About the Weaver, the Spirit Within. Buju, Migazi Ikwe Nindigo. Stephanie Cote and Indigenous, Grand Traverse Band Odawa, Minwa, Chippewa, Nabadagos, Mangandodem. Hello, spirits know me as Eagle Woman. I am called Stephanie Cote. I am from the Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians. I am from the Wolf Clan. Stephanie Cote descends from a lineage of basket weavers. Honoring her ancestry, these articles are woven from common Native knowledge, accessible online articles, and the wisdom imparted by Native peers and elders to support hypotheses developed from the intersectionality of Native American experience and financial education. She is Ottawa and Potawatomi from the Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians from northern Michigan. More information can be found at eaglewomansoars.com. Hello, thank you so much for joining me for another article supported by the National Endowment for Financial Education. With each of these articles, I will provide supplemental information as well as having backdrops and different wares associated with each article. For this article, I am pleased to share that I actually have a buffalo hide behind me, and it's a full buffalo that has been brain tanned in a traditional way. So if you're sitting in the room with me right now, it smells like smoke. It's amazing, and it really transports you to a place of accessing tradition. I am also wearing a t-shirt of the water protector. So just like the article had mentioned, Native American tradition and culture has a symbiotic relationship with the earth. And as we have that spirituality and cultural practice with Mother Earth, we do everything to protect those resources that we have. So like the article had stated, buffalo had been almost eradicated. So having the ability to have this hide behind me is a testament to the preservation of our culture, as well as the work that we're doing in the present moment to preserve our waterways and our systems of food growing. Another piece is I have my two braids, one to match the water protector, but two, it's also a symbol of the sweet grass, one of the medicines that we use, and as a symbol of the creator. So I wear these braids to honor my culture and my connection with Mother Earth. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope you come along for more. So, Chimiquech, many thanks.